Imagine a man sitting in a workshop in Florence. 500 years ago, he is surrounded by half-finished paintings, bronze casting molds that will never be used, and thousands of pages of journals filled with backward writing. By the standards of his time, he is a man of procrastination. He is 65 years old and he is crying. Not because he is poor, he is famous. Not because he is unloved, he is respected. He is crying because he feels he has failed. In his notebook he writes a single haunting sentence. Tell me, has anything ever been done? This man was Leonardo da Vinci. We see him today as the ultimate polymath, the divine genius of the Renaissance. But if we could peel back the myth, we would find a man who struggled deeply with the burden of perpetual curiosity. Leonardo didn't just want to paint a face. He wanted to understand why we smile, how light bounces off the skin, and how the soul expresses itself through muscles. This relentless drive for mastery made him one of the most brilliant men to ever live. But it also made him one of the most frustrated. His story is a powerful lesson for anyone today who feels overwhelmed by their own unfinished work or the pressure to be perfect. Leonardo's curiosity was not a hobby, it was an obsession. He would walk miles to watch a certain bird fly, or spend days dissecting a human heart, just to see how the valves work. He filled over 7,000 pages of manuscripts with observations on everything from the movement of water to the structure of a woodpecker's tongue. To the world, he was a distracted artist who couldn't finish what he started. He left the adoration of the Magi unfinished. He never completed the giant bronze horse for the Sforza family. But Leonardo understood a secret. The process of discovery is more important than the product of success. The tears of Leonardo came from the gap between his infinite vision and his finite time. He saw a world so beautiful and complex that no single lifetime could ever capture it. He often felt like a failure because he couldn't reach the perfection he saw in his mind. Yet, it was precisely this vulnerability that allowed him to see what others missed. While other artists were focused on prestige, Leonardo was practicing presence. He was learning to see the world not as a collection of objects, but as a living, breathing machine of miracles. One of the core lessons of Leonardo's life is the power of the beginner's mind. Even in his old age, he remained as inquisitive as a child. He didn't care about being right, he cared about being aware. He once wrote, "Iron rusts from disuse, so does inaction spoil the intellect." He believed that our mental health and our sense of control are tied to our ability to keep learning. When we stop being curious, we start to decay. But as long as we are asking why, we remain vital and resilient. Leonardo also practiced a form of emotional intelligence that was centuries ahead of its time. He understood that our internal world is reflected in our external creations. He spent 16 years working on the Mona Lisa, carrying it with him across Italy and eventually to France. Why? Because it wasn't just a portrait of a woman. It was his lifelong study of nature and humanity distilled into a single panel. He wasn't working for a client. He was working for his own soul. He showed us that patience is not just about waiting, but about the quality of the work you do while you wait. In our modern world, we are told that we must be productive every second. We are told that if we don't have a finished masterpiece to show for our efforts, we have wasted our time. We feel anxious when we start a new project, but don't finish it. But Leonardo da Vinci invites us to reframe our failures. He tells us that a wandering mind is not a broken mind. It is an exploratory one. Every half-finished project in your life is a piece of raw material for your growth. Nothing is ever truly wasted if it led to a new insight. To find your own healing and mastery today, you must embrace your own curiosity without judgment. Stop asking if your work is good enough and start asking if your observations are deep enough. Leonardo's tears were the result of his profound love for the world. He wept because he loved life so much that he couldn't bear to leave any part of it unstudied. When you feel overwhelmed, remember that your value is not in your output, but in your perspective. Take a moment to look at something simple, a leaf, a shadow, or the way a person walks. Try to see it with Leonardo's eyes. Allow yourself to be distracted by the beauty of the ephemeral world. This is the path to tranquility. By focusing on the process of living, rather than the product of living, you regain control over your internal happiness. Leonardo's last words were an apology to God and man for leaving so much undone. But look at what his undone life gave us. It gave us a map of the human spirit. It gave us the permission to be curious, to be messy, and to be human. You don't need to finish everything to be a masterpiece. You are the masterpiece in progress. Keep asking questions. Keep seeking the silence within the wonder. Like Leonardo, let your curiosity be your inner citadel, and let your perpetual search for truth be your greatest victory.